Sanjay Singh has got bail, but you have to see that there are two different cases here. As far as Sanjay Singh is concerned, his role according to Enforcement Directorate was organizing a fundraising program for the Aam Aadmi Party, and second was that 2 crores rupees were delivered to his residence, but there is no money trail. As far as Manish Sisodia or Arvind Kejriwal is concerned, they have been able to at least convince the court prima facie, based on which the High Court decided to not grant any relief to Arvind Kejriwal, and that is the day when Arvind Kejriwal was arrested. When his remand application was produced before the lower court, even then the Enforcement Directorate was able to convince that there are statements, there is a technical evidence, and there is also a money trail. In Sanjay Singh's case, the court was very clear. There is no money trail as far as Sanjay Singh is concerned. But in case of Arvind Kejriwal,
didn't oppose the bail also.
Yes, that was
Enforcement Director did oppose the bail.
when
They did oppose the bail. Sanjay Singh.
when the
Sanjay
hearing.
Singh, they did oppose the bail. Okay, let Manish will
Okay, so when the hearing was going on, so the court asked this very clearly, and Nalini can throw light on this. The court said very clearly, if we are going to take observation on this case, it may reflect in our order, and it may impact your trial also. So why don't you go speak to the ED officials, and then I am going to give my order. So 2 o'clock the order was set, and ED said that this is a peculiar case, and that is why he should be granted bail. So as of now, there were options to ED. They could have said that we want to file application before the court, but ED said, no, we don't want to oppose the bail.
Tactical.
It was tactical for the Enforcement Directorate. We can say it is a strategy of the Enforcement Directorate. But as far as Arvind Kejriwal is concerned, and what I want to highlight here is that the money trail in case of Arvind Kejriwal, according to Enforcement Directorate, is strong. They have called Aam Aadmi Party a company which received allegedly 45 crores of rupees from the South Cartel, and it was spent on the Goa elections. So Arvind Kejriwal's case, in comparison to Sanjay Singh's case, is extremely strong as far as ED's narrative is concerned.
Okay, so the vendetta versus due process is still very much political until this money trail actually presents itself, and that's what the court actually said. Nabila, bringing you in now, and then I'll bring in the others as well. Vendetta or due process from the outside. The reason why this is, one cannot extract or separate the politics from the due process is because we've got a looming election right in front of us, and it is the chief of the Aam Aadmi Party and the Delhi Chief Minister who's now in jail.
Well, the AAP calls this vendetta because of the timing. 2 months before Lok Sabha elections, Arvind Kejriwal is arrested. But there were many other leaders who were arrested much before Kejriwal, be it Sanjay Singh for that matter, or even Manish Sisodia. They were arrested way before Arvind Kejriwal, nowhere close to election time. They've been in prison. About the details of the case, it's for the case itself to take its legal course. But if you ask me about AAP's perception, let me tell you, Shiv, that Arvind Kejriwal in prison, and if he does not step out or manage to get out legally before elections, is really going to hurt the Aam Aadmi Party. Because speaking of sympathy votes, I don't think the AAP really is going to score on that level. I don't think there is sympathy because, first of all, Arvind Kejriwal started off as an anti-corruption crusader, and to then come up with a liquor policy and then quickly scrap it when BJP accused them of corruption, just raised questions on his integrity and the party's integrity. His party itself was born out of the fact that they wanted to give an alternative view and approach to politics, corrupt politics that so long persisted. But it seems like they also came down to the same line. In fact, speaking of AAP's alliances, the Congress party was defeated by the BJP in 2014 only because of corruption. So many years that accumulated allegations of corruption, finally the Congress was defeated.
It was actually the Congress that raised the entire excise policy case. Akshita? Vendetta, due process.
It's weird, but I'd say both in a way. And this is why. Because first, as far as due process is concerned, I think the larger question, I think Preeti also raised this, which Nalini also can give us more about, is the problem with the PMLA, right? It can be exploited in this manner. It is the due process, unfortunately. So I think till we change that, it remains the due process. Vendetta, why? Because how many netas from which party do you really see being taken up or, being charged under the PMLA? You see a track record, it's very clear, which is why I say it's a bit of both. My concern, Shiv, away from all of this, and if you focus on the politics, is on the Delhi government, is on governance, right? You've got Arvind Kejriwal taking all of this grandstanding, saying, I'm going to run the government from jail. You had all the AAP MLAs today meeting with Sunita Kejriwal, saying, no, we want him to run the government from jail. We've spoken about this in great detail, about how many challenges there are to actually run a government from behind bars. So then will governance in Delhi suffer as a result of political grandstanding? That's a bigger concern to me right now. Because yes, we've seen this fight playing out. But I think that Delhiites, if this continues, if this grandstanding continues, could face problems with regards to governance.
Okay, so could there be a, president's rule? Could there be somebody else as chief minister? We're seeing a lot of Sunita Kejriwal as well, which is a separate issue altogether. But the legal aspects of what's happening right now are obviously one side of it, Nalini, which you've been tracking very closely. But again, since you've got this election right ahead, just days away from now when the first phase actually kicks in, the politics can't be separated from perceptions of due process. How are you seeing it? Because you've actually tracked it.
Well, Shiv, I think because I'm a stickler for law, I think it's completely due process. But at the same time, it's political vendetta that is happening in the form of due process. Because unfortunately, that is the way the law is framed. Now, very important to put into perspective that the PMLA law under which all of these leaders are behind jail in itself is challenged before, it's in itself in challenge before the Supreme Court. So the validity of the law in itself is in question. But till the time the Supreme Court does not rule adversely against the law, it is, like Akshata said, unfortunately the law. It is how things happen. Now, putting into perspective what has happened today, it is always an uphill battle for any accused who's been arrested under the PMLA to get bail. Because like Munish also correctly pointed out, at the stage of grant of bail, the court has to be satisfied that the person is innocent. This is one of the biggest criticisms against PMLA. Because unless and until a trial happens in a case, it's not possible for the court to determine whether or not somebody is innocent. Absolutely. That's what a lot of senior lawyers also have said, that it is extremely draconian. Because at the stage of grant of bail, it has to be proven, and the burden of proof is on the accused to prove that he is innocent and there was no wrongdoing on his part. Which is why today, even in the Sanjay Singh case, when the Supreme Court raised very pointed questions to the ED knew that in case bail is granted to Sanjay Singh, despite them telling the court not to do it, that in the order there can be seriously adverse observations, because the court might find that there was no involvement of Sanjay Singh, which is something that they wanted to avoid, which is why they took a very strategical step of not opposing his bail so that they can reduce the length of the judgment that is coming in from the Supreme Court. There are not too many observations against the ED. The court can simply record that the probe agency had no problems, which is why he is now being allowed out on bail.
I have a quick thing to say that if, speaking of perception itself, Arvind Kejriwal skipped summons 9 times. So for him to cry vendetta, if he followed due process, just like what you see in courts happening, due process is followed, ED is following due process. Why didn't Arvind Kejriwal follow due process? So 9 summons you've skipped and now you're arrested, then you cry vendetta. Okay. That doesn't seem to bode well with a lot of people who voted for them initially.
And this is something that maybe Munish and Preeti can throw more light on. My question is, yes, he skipped 9 summons, but if he had turned up earlier for the summons, would he have anyway been arrested if he had appeared for the summon?
So actually, there is a very clear answer to that. As according to Indian law, you have multiple options if you are being summoned by any agency. He had an option of filing the anticipatory bail. He had an option of challenging the summons sent by the enforcement directorate. Every time, from the first time when he was summoned in the month of November last year, he always said that ED is going to arrest me. If you are so sure that ED is going to arrest you, why don't you go to the lower court, the high court and the Supreme Court? You could have avoided this day of getting arrested, but he never went to the court because he also knew that the amount of evidence, and why I'm saying this, because it has been almost 1.5 years since the time the enforcement directorate started naming Arvind Kejriwal in their charge sheet, saying that he spoke to Vijay Nair, he spoke to Samir Mahendru, there was some conspiracy. So ED has been very transparent as far as Arvind Kejriwal is concerned. But he never went to the court fearing that if the anticipatory bail application gets rejected, then sure he is going to arrest it.
Can I add something here to what Monisha said? I also think that when it comes to Kejriwal's case, ED shot themselves in the foot a little bit by being the ones who approached court. Because after Kejriwal skipped multiple summons, he did not go to court, but the ED went to court and said that he Yeah, ED filed 2 applications before the trial court saying Kejriwal is not being summoned. And once that was done, Kejriwal used that fact that the matter was now before the court as a continuing reason to skip even further summons. So he did not appear for any summons after that by telling ED that now that you've gone to court, the matter is pending there. So let court give a decision first and then I will appear. So that's something that Kejriwal used against the ED, which was something that ED shot themselves in the foot with.
Now, just zooming out from the legal and enforcement directorate aspects and the due process aspects to the politics of it, because ultimately it's election season and, the impact or the effects of what's happening with this case will be known in a few weeks, if at all. Preeti, zooming out now onto the election, the Aam Aadmi Party is obviously fire and brimstone as far as Arvind Kejriwal is concerned, justifiably so. Politically, how do you see this playing out for the Aam Aadmi Party as far as the elections are concerned? And for the opposition as well, because at the recent rally, Arvind Kejriwal was that, that centerpiece.
Well, Shiv, if you look at it, in terms of politically how it pans out for the Aam Aadmi Party, it's already started. You've seen their press conferences, and what they're going to go to town with is very, very simple and clear. They're going to take the observations of what happened in court today. Number one, they're going to say there's no money trail. And they're going to say the trial hasn't even begun, right? There is no money trail, there is no transaction. What is even Arvind Kejriwal saying? He's saying, I signed in on no paper. There is no money trail. Even in the case of Manish Sisodia, the top court, even though denying bail had said that the money trail, establishment of that money trail is tentative, which the ED was arguing against. So this is what the Aam Aadmi Party is going to go with. And the timing of it all is coming together for the Aam Aadmi Party, if you look at it, because they've been, that rally, they've been at least a constant positioning of Arvind Kejriwal, even though he's incarcerated, but to keep him alive in the mind and the memory of the people who are going to vote for him, with Sunita Kejriwal becoming his voice. The timing will be important, because now it's not just going to be the Aam Aadmi Party. You'll have even, strangely, the likes of the Congress, who were the complainants in this case, will come out and bring this sheer fact out. And you can expect a joint press conference soon. The point in all of this is not about the ED or the case or the summons. The point for the opposition and the Aam Aadmi Party is that this is political vendetta. This is misuse of state machinery. So for them, it's not to honor the due process of law. They are saying law is being misused by the investigating agencies through the government. So that's the reason why, and that's what they're going to go to town with. The timing of this particular messaging coming in from the Supreme Court will be very important politically, both for the Aam Aadmi Party and the opposition.
Does this put final words if you guys want to jump in? Munish, the money trail aspect is going to become an emotive catchphrase. It has been for a long time now. Now that the Supreme Court has said it while granting bail to Sanjay Singh, is there pressure now in the Enforcement Directorate to show that money trail or demonstrate where that money trail is?
I don't think so, because, this case was pertaining to only Sanjay Singh. And that was the observation made by the court also. ED has also not said anywhere that apart from 2 crore rupees, he had any part or any role in the entire alleged excise policy scam case. As far as other people are concerned, for example, Manish Sisodia, he was the one who was heading the ministry at that point of time. Arvind Kejriwal, they have said that Arvind Kejriwal, being the convener of the party, he was kingpin and he played an important role in the entire conspiracy, and more than 45 crore rupees went to Aam Aadmi Party for Goa elections. So it is not going to impact Enforcement Directorate at all. As far as what Preeti was mentioning just now, what I believe and what I've seen in Delhi politics, that the Aam Aadmi Party or Arvind Kejriwal has to convince his voters, but that's not what I'm seeing on the ground. I'm not seeing protest by the common people, or they are coming on the road saying that our Chief Minister has been arrested. I have not seen anywhere, and
no big uprising.
No big uprising so far I've seen. So I don't think it is happening for Aam Aadmi Party also.
Do you think that's a sign of things to come as far as the election is concerned? You said that sympathy is complicated.
Sure enough, whatever be the details of the case, I think a perception has already been established that, and if it was any other leadership, I don't think it would have hurt as much, because it's Arvind Kejriwal, who always portrayed to be this really staunch, honest alternative to politics in India. It's all the more damaging for his reputation that he's currently behind bars on corruption. Of course, the implication will happen after trial, but the fact that he's already in prison now, a perception created that they could be corrupt. And based on perception itself, governments have fallen. Like I said, Bofors scam, no conclusive report on that scam till date. Be it coal scam, 2G scam. The Congress finally got defeated by the BJP in 2014. It took a little while, but so far those cases are still hanging. But the damage is done.
Also the fact that he removed Manish Sisodia and Satinder Jain from the ministry, but as far as he is concerned, he is not going to...
Yeah, we'll have to do a completely separate democratic newsroom on the Game of Thrones within the Aam Aadmi Party, and Preeti will have to be here for that. But Akshita, last word to you. The Aam Aadmi Party has prided itself as an anti-corruption, no-nonsense, no family. We're seeing a lot of Sunita Kejriwal front and center now, even though she's not a politician. Do you think that's damaging the party? The perception battle.
Very much. And as far as the perception battle goes, what Munish was also referring to about the protests. On a lighter note, when I was there when Arvind Kejriwal was being arrested, very few protests. And I kept thinking that, they should perhaps learn from our South politicians on how to really ensure that you make the most of this kind of a moment and send out a message. Exactly. So, where was the messaging being sent across that this is our leader, he's going behind bars, political vendetta, political conspiracy, or whatever you've been saying. Keeping that aside, to your question, Shiv, about how this really dents the Aam Aadmi Party. I think they're trying, and Preeti said that, about how they're trying to create this narrative of us being targeted, sympathy, etc. I think what will hurt them largely is if a messaging is sent across that governance doesn't matter, our political brownie points matter more, which is why I come back to the point that I made earlier about how Delhi's governance could suffer. Look, whatever sympathy vote you get, at the end of the day, if people don't get the facilities, provisions that they expect from the government, that sympathy vote is going to go away. So I think that for the Aam Aadmi Party and for Arvind Kejriwal, as much as, they're all like he will remain the chief minister, governance gets dented, they're not going to benefit from this, is my view.
That's a wrap on Democratic Newsroom. Remember, this is an unfolding story. The story isn't anywhere remotely close to being over just yet. In the courts, in Tihar Jail, in the party headquarters of the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. So expect to hear much more about this right here on India Today. Thanks for watching.
Arrested in October by the Enforcement Directorate, 6 months later, AAP MP Sanjay Singh granted bail in connection with the alleged Delhi liquor scam.
Sanjay Singh has been granted bail because ED did not argue their case at all and conceded on the bail because it was all apparent during the hearing and it was made clear by the judges. Honorable judges has made it clear before lunch that against Sanjay Singh there is no credible material to make a case against him.
The bail order issued by the Supreme Court. A bench of Justices Sanjeev Khanna, Dipankar Datta and Prasanna B. Varale was hearing Sanjay Singh's plea in the excise policy case. AAP welcomed Sanjay Singh's bail.
मुझे लगता है कि आज पूरे देश की लोकतंत्र के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा दिन है, बहुत खुशी का दिन है, बहुत उम्मीद का दिन है कि शायद कुछ लोग अब जेल से बाहर निकल के इस देश के लोकतंत्र को बचा लें.
Meanwhile, BJP slammed AAP, saying now AAP can't accuse agencies of being involved in vendetta politics.
This bail has been granted when ED, as you can see from the proceedings, has not opposed the bail of Sanjay Singh. From today onwards, the Aam Aadmi Party cannot claim, even for a moment, that any of the agencies, particularly the ED or the CBI, is indulging in any kind of vendetta politics. यदि ऐसा होता तो बेल को अपोज किया जाता.
Sanjay Singh has become the first senior AAP leader to be granted regular bail in the money laundering case linked to the liquor policy. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and his former deputy Manish Sisodia remain under judicial custody in the same case. Bureau Report, India Today.
कितनी बड़ी राहत है और किस ग्राउंड पर कोर्ट ने राहत दी?
ये एक बहुत बड़ी जीत है। इस पूरे तथाकथित एक्साइज मामले में आम आदमी पार्टी के जो तमाम वरिष्ठ नेताओं को ईडी ने बिना किसी सबूत के गिरफ्तार किया हुआ था, आज उसी ईडी ने कहा भाई कि इनके खिलाफ कोई सबूत मौजूद नहीं है, आप इन्हें बेल दीजिए।
ईडी ने क्या ऑब्जेक्शन किए थे जिसे अदालत ने नजरअंदाज किया?
देखिए, ईडी ने उन्होंने तो पहले तो ये कहा कि इनको जो है बेल दे दी जाए। दूसरा, उनके पास जो 3 सवाल पूछे थे कि आप 2 करोड़ रुपए का एलिगेशन जो लगा रहे हैं उसका क्या प्रूफ है। दूसरा, 6.5 महीने से आप जेल में रखे हुए हैं, क्या आपको जेल में रखने से क्या फायदा। और तीसरा कि इनके खिलाफ मनी ट्रेल को लेकर आपके पास क्या सबूत मौजूद थे, ये बताइए आप।
तो ईडी का जवाब क्या था इसमें?
ईडी का जवाब कुछ भी नहीं था। वो आके कहते हैं जी इनको बेल दे दीजिए, क्योंकि उनके पास अगर जवाब होता तो वो जवाब दे पाते। उनको पता था कि इनका जवाब नहीं है, ये सारे केस झूठे बनाए हुए हैं। तो ईडी ने बिना कुछ कहे हुए कहते हैं जी कि माननीय अदालत इनको जमानत दे दी जाए, हमें ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं है।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Driven by Hyundai Creta N-Line. Mutual funds सही है। LIC of India हर पल आपके साथ।
कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट आदा मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे ಅವರಿಗೆ
Wayanad battle heats up. Allies fight it out in Kerala. Left mocks Rahul. Why not fight in the north?
രാഹുൽ ഗാന്ധി ഇവിടെ വന്ന് ആരെയാ നേരിടുന്നത്? കേരളത്തിൽ വന്ന് സുരേന്ദ്രനെ നേരിടുകയാണെന്ന് പറയാൻ പറ്റുമോ?
BJP rakes up SDPI backing for Congress.
He is seeking the support of the PFI. Is it a secularist movement? You are always working for the anti-national elements.
The Wayanad war is the big focus on 6 p.m. Prime.
Good evening. You're watching 6 p.m. Prime here on India Today. I'm Akshata Nandagopal, and this evening we're counting down to the big Wayanad battle. It's in phase 2 of the elections at Kerala. The full state goes to polls. But tomorrow is the last state to go ahead and file nominations. So you're going to see Rahul Gandhi and his own ally, the left, Annie Raja, who's not shied away from taking on Rahul despite being allies outside of Kerala, both filing their nominations tomorrow. We're going to be getting you all the latest coming in on that Wayanad battle. We have our reporters live from this crucial constituency. And of course, BJP Kerala Chief K. Surendran, who's taking on Rahul Gandhi in Wayanad, will also be joining us live in just a bit. So that's what we have lined up for you as part of the Indian Political League. Nikhil Naz is getting us the latest on the Indian Premier League. Nikhil, good evening. What do you have in store for us today?
Well, good evening, Akshita. I know it's the story of two captains. In the Indian Political League, it's about Arvind Kejriwal. He's under pressure, but at least his team is backing him. I'm going to be talking about the other big city in India, in the Indian Premier League. That's the Mumbai Indians. The captain there is under fire. And unfortunately for him, he's not getting the backing that he really wants. That's coming our way at 6:30 p.m.
We've been seeing a whole lot of that ourselves in politics in Maharashtra, with all of the permutations and commutations playing out really as far as alliances go. Thanks very much, Nikhil. You can watch out for all the highlights of the Indian Premier League at 6:30 this evening. But let's begin this broadcast with the headlines. Prime Minister Modi's big attack on the opposition, reiterates pledge to crack down on corruption, says he wants Bhrashtachar hatao, but opposition wants Bhrashtachar bachao.
मैं कहता हूं भ्रष्टाचार हटाओ, वो कहते हैं भ्रष्टाचारी बचाओ.
AAP Neta Sanjay Singh gets bail after spending 6 months in jail in Liquorgate case. Singh is the first AAP Neta to get bail in liquor scam. Delhi Mantri Atishi levels big Operation Lotus charge, says BJP pressuring her to abandon Kejriwal and join BJP. Claims AAP Netas are receiving arrest threats now. Home Minister Amit Shah firefights dissent in Karnataka, but disgruntled Ishwarappa to contest Shivamogga as an independent despite Amit Shah's outreach. India rejects China renaming Arunachal Pradesh. Rubbishes China's provocation, says it's a senseless act that won't change reality. And Supreme Court cracks the whip on Ramdev's Patanjali, says government working hand in glove with Ramdev and refuses to accept his apology on misleading ads. And on Wednesday, it's going to be a politically power-packed day in Kerala, particularly in the constituency everyone's watching out